SilkCentral Test Manager, Result Files, and Test Packages. The goal of this presentation is to demonstrate the structure and the content of a test package, or also known as an output XML file within SilkCentral Test Manager. We're going to understand how does SilkCentral manage test execution results. We're going to take a look at the structure of an output XML file, and then a step-by-step on how to establish a result file that represents a test package. Let's start by having a look on how SilkCentral manages test execution results. Within SilkCentral, all test definitions will have stored their results for each particular run. In order to access those results, you can select the test definition and then select the Runs tab. In order to access a particular run, you can click in the Run ID. When a test is executed, SilkCentral will look for two things: any file that the test framework generates, plus a particular file named output.xml that is responsible to tell SilkCentral what all those files represent as a result. For instance, in our testng execution, if we go to Files, we'll notice that there are several files that was created as part of my execution run. Those are files generated by the framework, but there will be also a standard output.xml file. Let's click on that, and you can see here the demonstration of the results of your test. So that's the specific file that SilkCentral looks for to represent the results of all that's being done by the framework. Once we understand how the execution results work, it's time for us to take a look in the anatomy of an output XML. As the name says, the output XML, it's an XML file that contains on the top a regular XML header, and it contains at least one root element of the following types. It can be either a result element that represents the old non-test package results in SilkCentral, or a test suite, which represents the test package results. In order to have a better understanding of the whole content, you can just download the XML schema from within SilkCentral. Let me show you how to do that. You can just go to the Help Tools menu in SilkCentral, and you will find a link called Test Package XML Schema Definition. Now that we have the schema in our hands, let's take a look on how to create a basic test package. Well, when you're generating the file, the top of the file will need, as we said, the XML header. Then it will have a root element of the type test suite. Now, it's important to understand the required information in here. You notice that every test suite element has two attributes, one called test item and the other one called EXTID. Test item represents the name of your test definition within SilkCentral, while external ID represents the name of your test case within your framework. That's the name that's going to be used for recurring results and keeping tracking of the information within the framework synchronized with the information within SilkCentral. There are other two required elements here: error count and failure count. If your failure count or error count are bigger than 0, it represents that your test failed. So in this case, it's a suite. A suite might contain test items. So you can see that we have a child test for the suite, and the required fields are the same. Test also has test items, an ext ID, and it also require error count and failure count. In this case, because both are 0, it means that this test has passed. Now we can see another test within our suite, but now we can see that there is a failure here. And for the test specifically, if you have a failure, you want to have the description of the failure. In order to describe the failure situation, you will use an incident element. An incident element has both a message and a severity, but it also has a detailed information to explain exactly what happened. Once I have completely defined my suite with all the children tests, it's time for me for closing the test suite XML. Let's take a look on how this test package gets represented within SilkCentral. Within SilkCentral, we can see that the test definition, the top of the suite, remember our external ID? It's here. And I can open it up and I can see the test cases that we created, and specifically the one that failed. I can go to the Runs tab and I can take a look at the failure. Let's go to the messages and I can see exactly the information of the failure with logs and everything else. So our output XML created a test suite with the children within it. That structure is created based on the structure you represent in your output XML file. That completes SilkCentral Test Manager, result files, and test packages.